Hello, amateurs, and welcome. Now, following on from their win at Murrayfield this past weekend, it's time for another look at the world's top ranked team, Ireland. So I've got with me Elko once more. Elko, how are you?
Very good, TT. A little bit relieved after the weekend, and I'm not going to lie, excited but a little bit anxious about this weekend coming up.
Okay, well, let's start with last weekend. And going into it, a bit of backstory Ireland had a lot of top players coming back into the squad that week. What were your thoughts leading into the game against Scotland?
Yeah, so I think we alluded to a couple of weeks ago about how we some lines ready to come back in, and a couple of injuries kind of forced the hand of Tyg Furlong coming back in. But yeah, I was very excited to see the guys come back in. There was an air of setting up this weekend coming. Scotland have always been a bit of a bogey team away, but there was a lot of confidence and a lot of excitement to see what our hooker coming back could do, and could Henderson do well with taking his opportunity with Tyg Byrne being injured, and that all went to pot after 20 minutes.
Absolutely. Now, the start of the game, I thought Ireland started really cagily. I thought, a team that loves to hold on to the ball, I thought they kicked quite a little bit and they just took the simple options more often than not. Do you think that was a deliberate tactical ploy or was it just what they saw at the time?
Yeah, I think there was probably an element of trying to keep Finn Russell quiet, so therefore coming in with a fairly simple game plan, very different to how we approached the French game, which was, trying to create chaos really, which worked well for them. I think there was an element of maybe trying to take the crowd out of it. I mean, Murrayfield was rocking. It seemed pretty intense, and with Scotland getting a fairly early try through Jones, I think. Yeah, there was a obviously the 16th man was there, but yeah, I think you're probably right. I think we probably went in with a fairly simple game plan. Maybe because there was new starters there as well, just to settle it down a bit and see what we were going to do.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the Scotland try was excellent. It went through many phases and ended up with a great bit of play to get Jones over. But after that, Ireland, I felt, started playing a lot more. They upped the tempo. They started using slightly more complex options, which ended up with the Mac Hansen try in the corner. Do you think that was just a reaction to the Scotland try, or what do you think?
Um, I think it was hanging on to possession. I think what we're seeing with all the games on the weekend and the way rugby is at the moment, it's all about having the ball and creating momentum. And I think Ireland got back into it. They were able to get their runners into the game post that try. But you see, Scotland had the ball. I think it came off. There was a bit of loose kicking, and I think we kicked and Finn took a mark and then kicked a wonder kick down, and then they had possession and territory. So I think I guess we settled down a little bit and just got into our game, into our patterns, and I guess there is an element of, yeah, they scored, so we need to hit back and throw a shot now, sort of thing. And Mac Hansen, who played particularly well. It's funny, TT. I don't know if you noticed, but all the chaps that we didn't mention in our first sort of get together a couple of weeks ago um, have been playing really well. So I don't think we ever mentioned Mac Hansen the other week, and we certainly didn't mention, and we got a lot of grief for this. Our new hooker, Van der Fleer, at all, who's been unbelievable.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about him now as we go into the second half. Injuries, obviously, to both hookers, which led to the very strange scenario where you've got an open side throwing into the line out, yet Kelleher was still on the pitch at that time. What were your thoughts when you saw that?
Well, my thoughts were, what on earth is going on? And the commentary I was watching on BBC here in London, and didn't know what was going on. I was texting a really good pal of mine who we always watch the games together, going, "What is going on?" Leaving the voice notes. So we didn't know what was happening. I was watching him sort of at the end of the first half, and then when he was on, and you could if you get to have a look at the game again, and when he comes on in the second half, he can't lift his left arm, and when he's running up in the D line, he's trying to get onto his left side so he can tackle with his right. And I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And then obviously you saw Van Fleer throwing in. I mean, I don't know if you sort of read any stuff after what Farrell was saying and the hilarity of what was happening at half time, but apparently they were all in stitches laughing because no one knew what was going on. Paul O'Connell had sort of the guys over with a piece of paper working out where people were going to go in line outs. And I get maybe that took all the pressure off, because when they played it really well in the second half, obviously. But it kind of shows for me. Okay, there was absolute chaos and no one knew what was going on, and it was hilarity. But they'd obviously covered it, because my understanding is that he was down as the hooker, the third choice hooker on paper before the game, and Van der Fleer has thrown before for Leinster, I believe, and does a lot of practicing with the hooker. So through the chaos came unbelievable clarity, and another tick in the box for Farrell in terms of his prepping this team. It's amazing, really. But it was very funny. I don't know. Bernard Jackman was saying during the week, and I would agree to him, hookers are always saying what a difficult job it is, and always sort of building it up how hard it is to throw in, and then this guy comes and hits 90% line out rate. Bastard.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Now I want to talk about the halftime hilarities a bit more, because I think it really shows like the composure of a team. To be able to literally laugh in the face of adversity and come through it like that was phenomenal. So how do you see that?
Well, listen, you know how I used to prep teams, and yeah, it was serious, but having fun was like top of the drawer. But I'm not sure I've seen it at international level like this. And I guess it just shows how comfortable the guys are in each other's spaces and things, and they can kind of. I suppose it was culmination also that the fact of all the other things that was happening, all the other injuries, and they must have been thinking, what next, and they came through. But I think it's great. I think it's I think mentally going further on, hopefully next week and or this week and into the World Cup, it's something in the back pocket to go, look, even though the wheels are falling off, everything's going wrong, we'll be okay. Let's just crack on. I think Farrell is a big thing about let's just be ourselves, is one of his big sort of mottos or whatever sayings, and they just cracked on. They must have had fierce crack on the way home and stuff, laughing about it. But yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and you talked about the throwing in terms of the hooker role, but then of course you've got Kian Healy coming in and scrummaging as hooker, and you as a former hooker, me as a former prop. We both know that it's a very different job, and to do that for the first time in an international is nothing short of extraordinary. But then to win a scrum penalty as well, I mean, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was. I'm still trying to get my head around it. Again, I've got a feeling maybe they practiced it, but I mean, maybe once or twice or something. And I was trying to think if he's ever played there before. I don't think he has. It's a really tough thing to do, and actually, I mean, there's an element of Scotland have really got to have a look in the mirror around how they dealt with that. And I think there was a bit of confusion on their side. I think they were as well going, "Oh, we got them," and then it was like, "Oh no, we don't have them." I mean, they didn't go for us in a scrum, really, and they probably should have. And how they didn't double bank at the front of the line is just, I don't understand. I mean, Peter O'Malley's probably one of the best, quickest guys to get up at the front, and maybe they still would have won it, but very, very strange. But yeah, I mean, Healy was very impressive to do that, and we dominated actually the scrum. Maybe he'll play this week. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, I mean, we've alluded to the big talking points there, but then the guy you mentioned earlier, Matt Hansen, I thought was absolutely supreme in the second half. The kick receipt that led to Lowe's try was one bit, but the fact that he managed to offload it so quickly to Sexton, I think was the real key point there. And then, of course, the pass for the Conan try. Say a little bit about Matt Hansen and what he's doing for the team.
Yeah, I think he's playing really well. He's playing with confidence, not only in attack, but I mean he had two crucial turnovers in the second half where he was getting in over the ball, hunting for work, and looked like a seven, doing a brilliant a class bit of play. And Sexton said after that there was another kick that Mac had gone up and I think it was off of a box kick from Gibson Park, and Sexton hadn't anticipated and should have, and he probably would have got a second try. So I think none of him been absolutely class, but then other players having the confidence in their teammates to then go, okay, I know he's going to get the offload in and running those lines off him. But he was the finish to get that try with Van der Merwe coming across was epic. I didn't think he got in. I thought he butchered it, and then replay showed he got in fantastic. And then yes, that some of the passing as well. I think to be fair, another guy we didn't bother mentioning the other week was Lowe, and I think he's on fire as well. The both of them quite similar. That they're not your classic kind of hang on the wing. They're coming in looking for work. They're creating things. They're hunting off nine, and then they're getting turnovers in defence as well, which I think I don't know about UTT. I'd love that in a winger. I think that would really lift me playing. When you're tired and then you see someone putting their head where you wouldn't put a boot, that would lift the team. So yeah, he's been a deserved man of the match for sure.
Yeah, and another person that you kind of mentioned there in passing is number 9. So Jameson Gibson Park coming onto the pitch. And I think as most nines do at that stage of the game, they'll up the tempo. But the way Gibson Park did it, I mean, Ireland were fizzing in that second half.
Yeah, I think sort of if you watch the sort of nines when they're going for their warm-ups and stuff, they're looking and they're seeing things and maybe seeing gaps or sort of patterns that you wouldn't see if you're on the pitch, as Murray was. I thought, firstly, I'd say Murray was really, really good, and I think he's really come into his own. Something I've noticed with him and Sexton this year is they're not. Previously, every tackle they used to stay down holding something or a little bit of a knock, and that's just stopped. By the way, don't get distracted by the cat. There's animals up here. And that seems to have gone away. They seem to be more calm. They're getting up and sort of keeping the pace in the game, because I think we used to lose pace. But yeah, I thought Gibson Park was really, fizzing is the right word. Almost changed the tempo of the game. We seemed to then get momentum, keep the ball more, get in behind Scotland, and then all of a sudden we scored 3 tries and we were gone. The game was gone for Scotland. But it was great to see him back, and be interesting to see what Farrell does this weekend with the nines, whether he sticks with Murray, and I probably would, and then you've got someone to change the game in Gibson Park, I guess. But yeah, he was awesome. TC, brilliant.
Okay, we'll move on to next week now, but before we do, just wishing well to Gary Ringrose, who took a really horrible knock towards the end of that game. So, yeah. But let's look at this coming weekend. Let's fast forward, Elko. It's Saturday evening, and somehow England have won to deny Ireland a Grand Slam. How has that possibly happened?
Well, I don't think it's an impossible thing that it could happen, frankly. I was at the game in Twickenham on Saturday. It was one of the best team performances I've ever seen in what France did. This is going to sound mad. I don't think England are that bad a team. I don't think actually they were. I think it's disingenuous to say that England are crap, and it was. France would have beaten anyone. They were unplayable. The mood in Twickenham was really. I was trying to think the last time I've seen an international team play, a French international team play that well, and I was lucky enough to be in that stadium in '99 when they beat New Zealand and came back and beat New Zealand, and it was the same feel in the stadium. It was the same performance, but instead of a snapshot of 3 mad tries in 15 minutes, it was the whole game. Every bounce of the ball, they were awesome. They really were, and they bullied England. Will England be that bad again? No way. I just don't think they'll let Ireland do what France did in terms of physicality up front. They've got to switch it. Whether that they come out and there's a bit of a row at the start, maybe, I don't know. That was certainly missing on Saturday. And then combine that with two things: injuries for Ireland and pressure. They've got to win, haven't they? They're going to win, aren't they? They're at home.
Well,
It's the first time they've ever done it in Dublin in front of an Irish crowd for the Grand Slam. England aren't playing well. Of course they're going to win, right? I don't know. I'm nervous. On paper, yes.
well, of course, yeah. I mean, the reason I asked that question, because I've been involved in teams that should definitely have won and failed to do so, and I've been on the other side of it as well. Now, the chances are remote to none, in my opinion, but the chances are there. Now, I think Ireland have proven that they can deal with injuries. Clearly, through this championship, they've proven that. But the pressure thing, I think, is the only way that Ireland can possibly lose this, if they somehow don't deal with the pressure. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, and also there's a big chap called Manu who looks like he's coming back in town, and we're missing our 13. And what we do there, I don't know, will he leave it as it was at the end of the game with sort of Bundy coming back on, so Bundy plays 12 and Henshaw at 13. Henshaw didn't look match fit to me, really. He looked like he was holding back on full pace, but so I'd worry about Manu coming in. I'd worry about potentially George Ford. I think we're going to see Ford, Farrell, and Manu, and that's a different sort of ball game altogether. But I mean, look, all the pundits here, everybody's writing England off, and as you have been, I have been in teams when you sort of, there's a danger where you can rock up and everything goes wrong. But then we had that last week. That's what I mean. Everything went wrong last week, and yet we still came out and beat a very good Scottish side. So I'm just slightly nervous that the pressure might get to us, but yeah, heart and head still says Ireland will win, of course, but there's just something sort of, the English would love to stop us. I know that much from living here.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's been the other way around several times in the past, so I can't say that wouldn't be true. Okay, we will we'll leave that there, Elko. Now, people watching, what do you think? Let us know your thoughts. Tell us how England can possibly beat Ireland on Saturday. I don't see it happening. Elko doesn't see it happening either. But I'd love to hear your thoughts below. And until next time, we will see you down the road. Elko, thank you very much.
Cheers, TT.